is not the day to die, but death has chosen him. 82,000 years ago, on a coast that forgives nothing, one man runs for his life.
82,000 years ago, the lowered sea had exposed a new land of plenty, but it also exposed them to horrors long forgotten.
And something else had learned to hunt the hunters. A nightmare with fangs. He thought he had escaped. He was wrong. For the coast remembers every wound. Because on this coast, the footprints never lie. They whisper of death. He survived the fall, but the nightmare was only beginning. For the sea is no refuge. This is their story, and the footprints that still haunt the sand to this day. "82,000 years ago, the world was locked in ice.
Here, a small band of Neanderthals survived on riches left by the tide, never seeing they were no longer the hunters.
They were family, 11 souls bound by blood and fire, until the tide brought something far deadlier than cold.
Every tool was born from patience and pain. Every blade a promise of survival in a world that forgave no weakness. Children still played, because hope is the last thing to freeze, even when the world itself covers the world.
The elders painted the old warnings in blood and fat, until the beasts stepped out. That night they feasted like kings, never seeing the golden eyes watching from the fog. Fire gave them warmth and the illusion of safety.
They told stories of great hunts, never imagining they would soon become the story.
When the tracks appeared the next morning, 5 volunteers chose to become the wall between their family and the dark.
While the hunters prepared for war, the gatherers still trusted the sea to feed them. But the coast itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for blood. The morning after the feast, the coast delivered its bill. One set of tracks, 2 lions, and a message written in the sand. You are not alone. Words were not needed. Every soul understood. Ignore the challenge, and the pride would come for the children next. They painted for war, the same color their enemies wore on their fangs. They went into the trees, carrying the future of all group on their shoulders. Every sound was a lie. Every silence was worse. There they were, beautiful, and already finished eating. 2 lions, those men, and only one side would walk out. The hunt had become the hunted. There would be no more hiding, only the clash of Ice Age titans. He ran toward death, so his family would not have to. First blood, but not the last. Payment was immediate and merciless. He fought not with hope, but with rage. An eye for an eye, until the snow ran red. Victory tasted like iron and grief. They brought home meat and carried home ghosts. They sang of heroes, but the song had fewer voices now. Children learn quickly that the world has teeth. Dawn brought no joy, only the grim arithmetic of survival. 2 lions dead, 3 brothers gone. They had won the battle and summoned the pride. 15 pairs of eyes, 1 message. You trespassed.
Innocence, standing in the shadow of extinction.
They had won a battle, but never the war. The coast remembers every footstep and every debt. Some wounds never close. They only wait for winter. Every drop writes a promise or a warning. The world itself was a graveyard, and they were only passing through.
Steel remembers the hand that held it, even when the hand is gone.
Pain was the price of tomorrow, and they paid it gladly. The sky bled colors that night, as if the heavens themselves mourned what was coming. They painted the story before the blood was even dry, so the cave would remember what the snow would not. The sea forgives nothing and forgets everything.
He looked at the future, and the future looked back.
Even children learned that tears freeze faster than hope. They had stayed too long. The land allowed. The smallest step can be the loudest goodbye. The tide came in, and history went out with it. Fire dies. Stories remain. Some blood never reaches the ground. It just waits for the next thaw. A handprint in blood and ochre, the last signature of a life that will never return. They left the sea behind, carrying only meat, memories, and the knowledge that the coast had won. Some lessons are taught by holding on, some by letting go.
Even the smallest predators knew the balance had shifted. The sea always wins. It simply waits.
The pride reclaimed the beach without a sound, as if humans had never existed.
Some footprints become fossils. Others become warnings.
The cave kept their story, long after the storytellers were gone. Old writes its own language, in patterns no human hand can draw. When humans left, the universe simply continued. They did not conquer, they simply waited for the fire to go out.
The scavengers always know when the story ends.
The smallest mark, erased in a heartbeat.
Time itself froze to honor the new kings.
Even sorrow becomes beautiful when it turns to ice.
Places remember people. People do not always remember places. Winter always comes to cover the wounds of summer. Some weapons are buried with their owners. Others are left for the earth to keep. The cave kept their echo long after their voices fell silent. They survived the day, but the coast remembers every footstep, every scream, every debt unpaid. 82,000 years later, the sea still rises and falls on that same beach. And sometimes, when the tide is just right, the coast shows its old scars. Stone remembers what sand forgets.
The ice left, the lions vanished, yet the cliffs stand exactly as they did.
82,000 years later, on the same beach, we found them praying. A conversation frozen in stone. A little girl once stood here, unafraid, placing her foot inside the monster's churn, in defiance.
The lions took the land, the ice took the lions, but this East Asian child took eternity.
Some battles are not decided by who lives longest, but by whose story refuses to die.
They won a battle, but never the war. Every footprint they left still walks beside us. The coast remembers